This is the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast. Here's Rick Ucchino and SP3 on the Bleav Podcast Network.
Oh, it's Tuesday afternoon, and you know what that means. It is time to go live. Live, I said, here on the Bleav in Pro Wrestling Podcast YouTube channel. Audio will be available later on the Bleav Podcast Network as well, in case you can't stay for the entire show, but we sure do hope that you can. Make sure to get your comments in, get your questions in. We're going to be breaking down all the fallout from Monday Night Raw, a major shakeup as far as the Money in the Bank match is, or the card, is concerned. Title match being changed last night on Monday Night Raw, so we'll dive into that. And because of that title change, I am having a fantastic time talking so far today. Because of that match change, we had a prominent group on Monday Night Raw that was a no-show last night. We will talk about that as well. Becky Lynch continues her downward spiral. Is she in danger of missing the premium live event for which she is the poster girl for? We'll get into that. Ezekiel, Elias, Kevin Owens. I think that segment, I speak for everybody when I say that was better than anything we could have possibly hoped for last night. That was WWE entertainment at its finest last night. So we got to give all three men involved their flowers last night for sure, and possibly a third brother coming up next week. And SP3 and I are going to play a little game, Contender or Pretender, today when it comes to the Money in the Bank participants. SP3, how you doing today? Hope you're talking better than I am.
I am frustrated because my tag team partner here on the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast was involved in a $5 hush pack agreement with Jeremy Lambert of Fightful Overbooked to screw me out of winning pillar to post. Thank you, A-Shock. I saw you, A-Shock. You were one of the few that is on the right side of the truth, the right side of justice. I was screwed over, and Rick was unfortunately a part of it, but I am happy to be here with Rick, live with all of you here to talk some professional wrestling today.
Hey, I didn't tell Jeremy to eliminate you first. I just said, hey, make sure he's available by, the time that we go live here on this channel at 2:15. That's all I was trying to convey. I didn't tell Jeremy how and when to eliminate you from the competition. Now, did I? And by the way, when have I ever, been the one to have nefarious tactics against USP3? When have I ever been that guy to try to just screw you out of anything?
Do you want me to suggest people to watch our Elimination Chamber prediction show?
Yes, I do actually. Watch them all. Everybody watch all the episodes. Yes.
The Royal Rumble prediction show, like every single prediction show, you try to screw me over. But I'm like Stone Cold Steve Austin against Mr. McMahon, and I've been fighting against the odds as of late. And I will go back to pillar to post, and I will be victorious, and I will overcome Rick and Jeremy passing me around like a toy.
Tell them to quit booking that show at 1 o'clock on Tuesdays, and you can win as many times as you want. Or tell them to stop doing that so I can actually do the dang show every once in a while. What is up to Safette and Queen and Ace and Hypnosis Bro and Frantic World and everybody who's in the chat? We will get to all of your comments and concerns and questions throughout the entirety of the show, which is why we're here live, so you guys can interact with us. First things first, got to thank our friends over at BetOnline. They are your continued number one source for all of your betting needs and sports information. Get the latest odds, news, and sports development, including this year's NHL Finals. The Lightning struck back last night. Major League Baseball going on. That's in full swing. Got the All-Star ballots who are coming out here soon. Get the latest fighting news, even next season's early NFL futures. Pound those odds for the Cincinnati Bengals. Are getting screwed in those odds. Head on over to the website, use your mobile device, sign up today, receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. I said 50%. Use our promo code Bleav, that is BLEAV, to get that bonus and get into action. Bet online where the game starts. And SP3, I actually want to have fun today because yesterday's show, while albeit very, very good, was a lot of venting, a lot of frustration, a lot of just hammering on WWE creative. So I made sure to carve out some time on this show to praise WWE creative because we're equal. If they do something that's good, we'll talk about it. So we'll talk about Ezekiel, we'll talk about Elias, we'll talk about KO, and some good decisions that I believe that WWE made on Monday Night Raw. But a lot of our conversations as of late have stemmed around Vincent Kennedy McMahon and the allegations against him and the lawsuits and investigations and this, that, and the other thing. Well, the other shoe reportedly dropped while we were all sleeping last night, and that is the fact that John Laurinaitis, who didn't see this one coming, was placed on administrative leave. He is effectively out as the head of talent relations for WWE. There are many within the company, this according to FightfulSelect.com, that believe he will not be coming back. And Bruce Pritchard, shocking to everybody, if anybody who knows Vince McMahon knows he basically trusts like two people, and one of them is Bruce Pritchard, and he is now getting head of talent relations thrown into his lap, a position that he has been on record before by saying he hates this position, but now he's taking it over in an interim basis. And there are some people backstage, again, according to Fightful, who are not too keen on this because now they have to go to the guy who's basically in charge of creative to try to get time off approved, and you can see how that might be a conflict of interest. But this is what is going on here in the latest SP3. Don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this, but your reaction: John Laurinaitis out, Bruce Pritchard in.
I am not surprised in the least. If Vince McMahon knows three people, he only got three people in his phone book. One of them ain't Shane McMahon. I mean, he got Stephanie and Triple H. He mails them letters if you want to talk to him. The three people that he has in his phone book is John Laurinaitis, but now he don't even want to put him under John Laurinaitis. It's gonna be Johnny Sprit Roast. Shouts out to wrestling quotes for that one. Then you got Bruce Pritchard and he got Nick Khan. So he couldn't put Nick Khan in that position because Nick Khan deals with the business side. So he was like, "Hey, Bruce, I'm gonna need you to have another role, a role that Bruce Pritchard has gone on record on his podcast, something to wrestle with, saying that he does not like this role. He doesn't enjoy this role, but every other person that Vince knows in this role is somewhere else. Jim Ross had this role before, and he's in AEW, so he can't call on him. So the best person for Vince in his eyes is Bruce Pritchard. Bruce Pritchard has even more power. Not only is he the executive director of creative for Raw and SmackDown, he is now the head of talent relations. This can only be bad for the performers, I think. And I understand the frustration from those behind the scenes, like Fightful reported, like PW Insider reported. This is not a good situation for the performers, and hopefully this is an interim position. Like I said, with Vince and the whole Stephanie taking the interim CEO and chairman woman role, I think long term and the biggest consequence out of all of this is that interim role kind of taken down and her becoming the permanent CEO and chairwoman, because that's the best thing for WWE. But the best thing for WWE is not having Bruce Pritchard take on this role full time. So hopefully this is just a interim position for him.
Yeah, and A Shock saying, why can't Heyman be in that position? And I some of these names, like all your people you're thinking of, have crossed into my mind, as well as, instead of throwing everything on Bruce Pritchard's plate at this point. I don't know. That would require me to get into the head of Vince McMahon, which I don't like doing very often. SP3 is the guy who puts on his Vince hat. But yeah, there is a very minute group of people that Vince McMahon trusts with these certain situations. And if you have to make a hasty decision, like, okay, your right-hand man, John Laurinaitis, you got to let him go, basically. Who are you going to throw into that role on a very, very short notice? Yeah, it's probably going to be one of the other two guys in the whole entire world that you trust. So yeah, he's going to throw this on Bruce Pritchard's lap. And Bruce, of course, is going to go, sure, boss, whatever you want. I'm all on it. I love this job. Everything's great. Again, hopefully they are beginning the process of hiring a more full-time person in that role. Maybe there's somebody else there who could eventually take over. Don't know. This does suck across the board. As Queen brought up an excellent point here that I was going to make. I wish Vince went on administrative leave so I wouldn't have to see Brock and Roman again.
That ain't happening.
I know, but this is a very necessary move, but also a hypocritical one. Because John Laurinaitis was the second guy named. He was the second gunman on the grassy knoll, and he's the one that's taken all the hit on this, while Vince gets to keep coming to work, smiling, and trotting his happy ass down on the ring to announce stuff we already knew that was coming up. Vince McMahon on Raw last night re-announces that John Cena is returning to Raw next week, which we're all excited about, obviously setting something up with Austin Theory. So that matchup is probably happening at SummerSlam. That's something that we've talked about being reported before. But just Vince McMahon, again last night, Johnny Ace out. Of course, he ain't going to go nowhere, and he's letting everybody know it because, once again, he trotted down to the middle of the ring last night, unzipped his fly, and dropped his grapefruits in the center of the ring. Just
dropping the dick. He dropped the dick on the table, and he's like, "You see my genetic jackhammer? He is Jordan Belfort in Wolf of Wall Street. He ain't going nowhere. He ain't going nowhere. He's still pulling the strings. He is the Teflon Don. He is Al Capone. He is Tony Soprano. He is James St. Patrick. He can't be touched. He can't be stopped. You can't stop the unstoppable. Cancel the uncancelable. Vince McMahon is the uncancelable, it seems. It doesn't matter if Stephanie McMahon becomes the permanent CEO and chairwoman. As long as Vince McMahon is head of creative, he always will be the face of this company. And all he's doing right now is telling everyone, and there are those shareholders that want him to be there because they feel like him away from WWE is a detriment to WWE because he's the symbol of taking professional wrestling to that next level. So he just wants to let all those shareholders know everything's all right. I'm still here. I'm still here. Yes, I am making those comparisons on purpose. If it didn't hit you that every single person, if you believe what happened after the screen went black on The Sopranos, if you watch Power, Ghost died at the end of season 6. Like, spoiler alert for something that happened 5 years ago. But if you know all these things, all these people got hit one way or another. And this is a man that's had a hit on him to begin with. But Vince, this is all he's saying. He's saying that I'm still in charge here.
100%. He ain't going away. I would not be surprised if he made this a regular thing where he just trots out there every Monday Night Raw, every SmackDown, doesn't say anything, but just reminds people, I'm still here and I'm not going anywhere. Get used to it. The big headline from an actual creative standpoint that came out last night, they opened up the show with it. Bianca Belair came down to the ring and announced that her opponent for Money in the Bank, Rhea Ripley, not medically cleared to compete, so they had to come up with a new opponent at the last minute, which we'll get to the opponent choice coming up here very soon. But this is it sucks because this is a major blow to the Money in the Bank card, which I think needed a big matchup like Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. But I can't help shaking this feeling, SP3. We hope that Rhea is okay. Don't know if this is work or shoot related. Didn't hear anything about an actual Rhea Ripley injury. I didn't anyway. I don't know if you did or not. So this kind of came out of nowhere for me. But I can't help shake this feeling that this is going to be better in the long run. Because saving Bianca and Rhea for a bigger show, whether it's in Cardiff or SummerSlam, whichever one's coming up down the line, one of those big stadium shows, I've said all along, I thought it was too soon to do Rhea and Bianca because I didn't think there was a prayer that Rhea was going to win. For me, I think this is better off in the long run. Yes, it sucks for Money in the Bank, but we're going to get this match, and it's going to be on a bigger stage. So I think this is actually kind of there's a silver lining to this.
Yeah, you could look at it as a silver lining as far as saving a big matchup for one of the bigger shows inside the stadium, whether it's at SummerSlam, whether it's at Cardiff or Clash at the Castle. But it's not a good thing for that group Judgment Day. It ain't looking too well for them when the person that was getting the biggest push for them is not there anymore, and then they show up on main event, and all they did on the main show was just mention that they beat up Edge and show us the same video
And they
package.
focused on Edge. They barely even mentioned Finn Balor, Damian Priest, or Rhea Ripley. They completely glossed over them. A week after, I'm sitting here going, all right, I love this presentation. They were still heavily focused. You got Rhea in a main title picture. I'm sitting here asking questions like, this group might be all right without Edge. Now, what a difference a week makes. I'm right back to the other side. I feel like a damn tennis ball getting hit from one side of the court to the other, because now I'm going, oh, that's a bad look. That is a very, very bad look. Yeah, Judgment Day, they competed on Raw. Not even on Raw. They competed on main event against the Mysterios. How is that not a match that gets put on Monday Night Raw? I don't understand that at all. I don't understand that move at all. You had plenty of time to put this match on the main card, you would think.
No, you had to do, Ciampa losing for the 46th time out of all his matches on the main roster, and set up a AJ Styles versus Miz feud that nobody wants to see. You had to give Theory 2 segments on the show to do the same pose down that everybody complained about last week once again on this show. So no, you couldn't have time for Judgment Day versus Mysterios. No.
I mean, this is... Yeah, man, it's not a good look. If you take Rhea Ripley out of the title picture, now all of a sudden they didn't even give him a promo. Nothing. How hard would it have been to do like a 2-minute promo with Rhea talking? At least with Priest and Finn Balor. Man, not a good look. Not a good look whatsoever for Judgment Day. Again, it sucks for Rhea Ripley. Man, I hope, because that's all I can do. I can't even say Bleav. I can't even make my normal pun that I believe that Judgment Day, there's going to be some big plans for them down the line, because this was always a possibility. Edge was their bulletproof shield as far as booking was concerned, because you knew they were always going to get every chance to succeed because Edge was in the group. With Edge no longer a part of that group, they every week now, there's going to be that legitimate concern. And a week like today makes me wonder if this group is dead in the water already. I'm not calling it, but I have my concerns. But I do believe that Rhea Ripley is going to be in the title picture once she is able to compete again. Again, this might be a written off injury angle here to send that down the line. I don't know. Queen saying, I'm starting to think that they only cared about Rhea and Edge. I think they have high hopes for Damian Priest. I mean, they did book him to be undefeated for a year. It's just, once again, they looked at something like Damian Priest and went, okay, maybe something's missing. And then they started tweaking stuff. And then that's when we got the whole bug-eyed crazy thing, and he lost all of his damn momentum. And now they had to refocus again. And now, again, he's kind of trying to find that solid creative footing. So there have been some mistakes that have been made along the way, but it is not a good look for Judgment Day to not only not be on the show last night, hardly be mentioned, and then end up on main event. Not a good night for Judgment Day, but it was a good night for one returning member of the Raw Women's Division. Let's dive into that, shall we?
It's time to answer the 5 count on the Bleav Podcast Network.
Rhea Ripley out. Had to come up with a new challenger, so they did a 5-woman challenge match last night. Becky Lynch, Asuka, Liv Morgan, Alexa Bliss, and the returning Carmella, who had been out. I believe she was banged up. Queen Zelina also banged up there a little bit. So Carmella makes her return last night. I love the promo exchange to set up this match, and then the match was even better. Great chemistry, great action, great pacing. And to the surprise, I think, of a lot of people, it was Carmella who came out on top. Becky Lynch, again, continuing that storyline of getting screwed. Looked like she had the match won. Asuka pulls her out of the ring. Liv is able to kind of get to her feet after a manhandle slam long enough to eat a super kick by Carmella. And it's going to be Carmella versus Bianca at Money in the Bank for the Raw Women's Championship. Number one here on the 5 count, SP3, was Carmella the right choice here to challenge Bianca Belair at Money in the Bank?
And if I'm putting on my Vince hat, like Hypnosis Bro says, yes, it is, because she was the only one that doesn't have a direction going into this matchup. Liv and Alexa already are in Money in the Bank. They already teased being a tag team following Money in the Bank, so they want them in this matchup. Becky Lynch and Asuka, they always wanted to do that qualifying match because they did promote it before this week's show and before the Rhea Ripley injury, so they were always going to do that on this show, so they couldn't have ruined it. So Carmella was the only choice for them in their eyes. So as far as us, the fans, no, because they have done this twice before. Carmella was the replacement for Bayley when Bayley got injured back at Money in the Bank last year. Carmella was the person that they put out in front to be the replacement for Sasha Banks before Becky Lynch returned at SummerSlam last year. This is now 3 times they have replaced Carmella to be in a championship matchup against Bianca Belair. This time they did it on the Monday night show instead of the Friday night show. It is laughable that they can't come up with new ideas. People complain so much about Brock and Roman. I think they should be complaining more about how many times Carmella has replaced opponents for Bianca Belair.
I'm going to say yes on this for a lot of the same reasons that you talked about. You already had Alexa and Liv involved in Money in the Bank. They were already in there, so they already had their spot solidified. Becky and Asuka are doing their thing. It didn't make any sense for Becky to win this match. I don't think anybody wanted to see Becky and Bianca again this early. I still think that might be the plan for SummerSlam. We'll see how things kind of shake out, because maybe Becky does ultimately end up inside the Money in the Bank ladder match anyway and wins. We'll talk about that coming up here. But look, man, like, I like Carmella. I do. I think she's one of the most underutilized performers on the entire damn company. Do I wish she was actually like winning matches over the last 5 months to actually like make her seem like a viable contender? Yes, absolutely, because this just seems like she lucked into it. I'm pretty sure this was either her first or second win since January when her and Queen Zelina won the dang tag team titles. She has been vastly misused for the level of her talent. She is underrated in the ring. She is underrated on the microphone. They don't give her a whole lot to work with other than, oh, go out there and be sexy. And I've talked to her before about that, and she wishes that she could do more than that kind of stuff. So this is an opportunity that I think Carmella has been waiting for. But at the end of the day, those people who sit there and say that they wanted, somebody else tossed out Joshua, saying I wanted Alexa to win since it would have been a matchup that we hadn't seen yet. And I understand that sentiment. For those people who maybe want to see Liv Morgan get another opportunity and a chance to shine on a big stage, I understand that belief as well. But I'm here to tell you, they were going to lose. And that's why Carmella's the right choice, because Carmella is cannon fodder. She's going to go in there. She's going to put on a good match with Bianca, because Bianca is kind of earning that AJ Styles reputation of it's hard to have a bad match with this person because they're so damn good. And she's going to win. And that's why I think in the long run, this is good, because I didn't think that Rhea was going to win, and Rhea needs to be the one that beats Bianca for that championship, in my opinion. She was the only other heel in that match besides Becky Lynch. Doesn't make sense. This is making the best out of a bad situation. The only thing that I could think of to where it may not end up being Carmella is where they literally do something they've already done again, SP3, and they have Bayley come out and replace Carmella like they did at SummerSlam with Becky and Carmella, and have her do that again and just have her get tossed out and jobbed out again if Bayley is coming back. I saw somebody recommend that on Twitter. I honestly could see WWE doing that, even though Carmella won the right to have this match.
If it was in Allegiant Stadium, maybe, but not in the MGM Garden Arena.
That's a fair point. That's definitely a fair point. Again, I like this spot for Carmella. I wish she got more opportunities like this, but this is the right call because she's going to lose. That's what it comes down to, that she's the one that could take the hit because she has no equity left. So give her the title match. It'll be a good match. and she's going to lose unless they win. That would be weird. Unless she wins, that'd be very, very weird and a huge shift as far as creative is concerned. One person who has not yet found a way onto the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, even though she's the poster girl for it, and even though she had 2 opportunities last night, is Becky Lynch. She lost to Asuka clean as a sheet in the middle of the ring last night in the main event. Another great match between Becky and Asuka. No shocker there. We both picked Becky to win this qualifying match before we found out about the creative changes earlier in the night. I think it definitely made more sense for Asuka to win last night to continue this downward spiral and drag out how Becky Lynch is going to end up on the Money in the Bank card in for another week. But that's the question. Does she actually end up getting onto the Money in the Bank pay-per-view or in the ladder match itself? And if yes, how does this come about, SP3?
Yeah, she's gonna be in it. I think that this is the only move for WWE to do. And if yes, how? The last chance triple threat match. That's what they're gonna do. I think that's the reason why AJ Styles won last night, because he seemed actually I think it's gonna be Riddle on the men's side that wins the last chance triple threat or last chance fatal four-way, whatever they decide to do. Last chance match. Riddle's gonna get in for the men, and Becky Lynch is gonna get in for the women. That's how it's gonna happen.
I would not be surprised because there's only 2 spots left. There's going to be 7 competitors in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. If you believe the graphics, right? And we know one of them is going to be either Shotzi or Aaliyah. I still believe that final spot is going to Carmella. Is going to Charlotte. Is a returning Charlotte. I can't verify that, but I just feel like Charlotte's going to be on this card. She's going to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match. So I have a feeling we're going to get kind of a 2019 Royal Rumble type situation where Becky takes out whoever wins between Shotzi and Aaliyah and steals their spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match on the night of the pay-per-view. I think that's going to be part of the story, is the fact that Becky's on the poster, but she's not on the damn card, and she's going to wreak some havoc and cause some chaos backstage to try to get in and take that Money in the Bank spot. So basically, somebody's getting Kofi Kingston, is what I'm saying. Somebody is going to get Kofi'd out of this Money in the Bank ladder match, and Becky's going to find her way in. And at this point, I kind of think she wins it. She finds a way to get the job done, and that's her win, and that's how her redemption story is going to come about. Is she's going to cash in her Money in the Bank briefcase, hopefully not the night of, and hopefully not the day after, because God knows we have seen that over and over and over again. Nothing to add on that one, SP3?
No, none really to say after that. I mean, that's a good option, but I mean, I'd rather see all the ladies that have qualified in the match, so that's why I think it's going to be the last chance.
And that's fair enough. Riddle can't challenge Roman for the title again after his loss. Yes, but the Money in the Bank has always kind of been like a loophole in that, so that's why he was able to compete against Omos. I think a lot of people were a bit shocked the fact that Omos won that matchup, but I think clearly with Riddle coming down with the tape, you knew he was gonna eat that. MVP told you flat out last week that Omos was getting into that match, so I don't know why people were so confused about why that happened last night.
And A-Shock, they already set the standard wrong. The last year when Drew McIntyre lost to Bobby Lashley in Hell in a Cell with the stipulation he could never get a shot at him, and then he was in the Money in the Bank the very next month. So they have set a precedent for this.
Yes, absolutely. We'll get back to Money in the Bank here in a moment. I do want to talk about something that was incredibly fun. I did not know how they were going to pull this off. Turns out it was with a fake beard. It was with some trick photography. It was with some pre-recorded segments, but it all came together seamlessly last night. This Kevin Owens, Ezekiel, Elias, Elbron, whatever the heck the third brother might be called, and KO is losing his damn mind. All of this was so beautifully done last night. To me, that was better than I could ever imagined. I half expected them to just pull some kind of a Elias is stuck in traffic or he missed his flight or some BS. They put an all-out effort on this, and other than the fact that that beard was obviously fake, which how can you, I mean, that's the best that they could do, obviously, in that situation. I thought this was flawless last night. Absolutely flawless. And Elias / Ezekiel is quickly becoming one of my favorite characters and performers in WWE as far as outside of the ring is concerned. The guy just gets it. He is absolute money.
Yeah, this couldn't have gone any better than WWE accomplished. And I would even give credit to the beard as well, because when they were showing the graphic with the real Elias, his beard was that thick that you can put on a fake beard and it looks like the real thing. So they did perfect with that backstage segment, establishing everything. Great camera work and camera tricks to have them both in the same room together, having that whole conversation. This showed the range of this performer. Like, Elias can play the musician that got under people's skin as well as became wildly popular, and he could play this kind of naive, gullible rookie who's looking up to his big brother. Like, they played that off perfectly. I enjoy Elias, Ezekiel outside of the ring, and I felt like this was the first time since the early weeks of this feud that there was actually some progression in the story. We finally got Elias in person. You got, Ezekiel showing up on the big screen when Kevin Owens was trying to call him out and say that you guys are the same person. You got Elias to do the guitar shot on him. Now You don't even have to bring Elias back. You can have Ezekiel go on. Once this feud, he gets the big win over Kevin Owens. Now you can move on from this feud. Kevin Owens can go crazy on someone else because he's lost to Ezekiel, because he still hasn't pinned Kevin Owens. He beat him by count out last week. Now this week, Elias got the one up on him. Whoever he faces, whether it's Elias, whether it's Ezekiel, whether it's Elrond, I think that is going to be a fun little further progression for this. And once again, they got me on board with this storyline, of course, before the bell rings.
Yeah. Queen saying Kevin's reaction when Ezekiel showed up in backstage during his interview was priceless. I couldn't stop laughing. And Kevin, as great as Elias/Ezekiel has been in this role, Kevin Owens is the straw that stirs this creative drink. This is them giving him, lemons and him turning it into lemonade. He has absolutely made this work. His commitment to this has been spectacular. And yes, when he ran into Ezekiel backstage, you would have thought he was legit having a mental breakdown. Like, the only thing that was missing from WWE storytelling from Monday was just a shot of both Kevin and Becky just laying down in like a pile of, filth backstage with both dejected looks on their faces. Like, just give me more of that on Raw Talk, because they're both having mental breakdowns right now. Put them both on camera at the same time. I think that would be absolute gold. But Kevin has 100% sold this. Yes, give me him versus Elrod next week. His debut, as Ace is saying, just to throw another wrench into the mix here. And then you could do something fun at the Royal Rumble next year, where you have Elias do all three versions. All three brothers can enter into the Royal Rumble. I think that would be a lot of fun. I'll tell you what, though, if I were him, man, I would have been so nervous performing last night, thinking that beard might come off, right? Like, especially when he starts getting physical and he starts sweating and doing that and the other thing. The type of glue that they put on that bad boy was some strong ass adhesive, and I do not envy him trying to get that taken off at the end of the night, because they made sure that bad boy was on there.
They used the same glue that Kevin Owens used for his skull cap when he was Stone Cold Steve Austin those months ago. So they went to the same makeup person.
That's restricting, and you have,
No, that's easier. That's easier to come off because you're sweating. You could sweat and it could peel off very easily. I think that he was fine. He was perfectly fine. They did that well. He didn't even do anything. He sat down in the chair and then hit Kevin Owens with a big knee and then with a guitar. There was nothing much he could do to sweat and pull it off. This was good. This was great. This was probably the best segment of this feud so far.
I wholeheartedly agree. I still think next week should be their final match, and it should be the True Identity match. They got it. It's right there for them, man. If somebody can just get my idea in the hands of Bruce Pritchard, because apparently he's calling all the damn shots right now. I think the pseudo I Quit match, where one of them has to admit the other's identity, is the perfect way to end this. I don't think we're going to get it, though. It would have been a nice way to end it. Let's get back into Money in the Bank. I wanted to do something fun. Wanted to do something a little bit different here. All right. We have 4 competitors who are in the men's Money in the Bank ladder match right now. We have 5 women in the Money in the Bank ladder match right now. So we still have 7 participants who are unknown at this time. I did my math wrong. 5. We have 5 participants who are unknown at this time, but we have the 9 here. So number 4 here on the 5 count. I want to play a little contender or pretender, SP3. You've seen this on sports shows before, mostly NFL playoff related stuff. So let's talk about this here. Let's talk about the validity of the chance that certain superstars have of getting the briefcase, or are they just in the match for the sake of being in the match? And we will start with Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins, SP3, is he a contender or is he a pretender when it comes to Money in the Bank and hoisting the briefcase at the end of the night?
He's definitely a contender, and he's carrying the Raw side of the build-up. So he's the top heel in this matchup, so he's definitely a contender for sure.
I think he is a slam dunk 100% contender on this one. And I love the fact that, they had him come down last night and talk a lot about Roman Reigns, which kind of gave me the hope that they do realize that he's going to be, that's the feud they need to get to sooner rather than later. They still have unfinished business there. And when they start teasing stuff on television, when it's with people they care about, more often than not, they come back around to it. So the fact that he's talking about how he's the one that has Roman's number and he was the last guy to beat Roman Reigns, it's like, oh, y'all do actually remember this shit. Okay, good. Probably setting something up with Riddle last night by attacking him and then giving him the stump. So I wouldn't be surprised if Riddle's his opponent for SummerSlam in Nashville. That's not a bad match. Nothing wrong with that at all. And I do believe the Wrestling Observer made the same speculation as well, kind of connecting those dots. But that doesn't mean that Seth Rollins won't be Mr. Money in the Bank as well. And he did tease something even more spectacular than the heist of the century, SP3, which might end up just being another version of the heist of the century.
Oh, joy.
How about Drew McIntyre? Is he a pretender or a contender when it comes to Money in the Bank this year?
He's a contender because he can do the Rob Van Dam of winning the Money in the Bank as a babyface and calling your shot in the place that you want to have it. He's the guy that pushed for the WWE to do a major premium live event in the UK. You got the Clash at the Castle in Cardiff, Wales, so he can call his shot and get the match that he's already teased on television about with Roman Reigns in Cardiff by winning Money in the Bank. So he's a contender.
Yeah, I would lean... I said I would lean toward pretender in this situation because he has already called his shot on television, basically, and he has already laid out the challenge. And we know in WWE, you don't have to do anything more than step up to the dude or attack somebody to get a title shot. But the fact that Drew, even dating back to last year after losing the WWE Championship, has kind of had to jump through hoops to get something that other people can just walk to because, of course, he's a babyface. He has to go through some adversity. Makes me believe that WWE might actually force him to win the Money in the Bank ladder match to get that shot in Cardiff. So I'm going to say he is a contender because I do believe that is a viable option. Again, guys, make sure to get your comments in. Wow, hold on. We might have a new addition to the Money in the Bank ladder match. If Gronk just retired from the NFL again, he might be coming back. That is some breaking news. I didn't actually see that. A lot of people thought he might return to the Bucs. I was holding out hope he'd want to play with Joe Burrow, but we'll see how it goes down the line. We could get Rob Gronkowski back in WWE. Does that move the needle for you, SP3?
Oh, joy.
Safet saying that Seth Rollins is definitely a contender. Slam and Sammy Joe saying beats Brock for the title this time in front of a live crowd. So, oh my God, I hope they don't do that. Would they really put another title on Brock Lesnar for him to drop it a month later? Of course they would. Of course they freaking would. Because why would they give Drew McIntyre that win over Roman Reigns when they could give it to Brock Lesnar, the one guy who doesn't need it? How about Omos? SP3, big man getting in his first
pretender. We can move on. Pretender.
Yeah, he's 100% a pretender. How about Sheamus? Sheamus, the other man who is in this
pretender. Let's move on. We don't.
Come
I'm
on.
not giving long explanations for Omos and Sheamus. They are pretenders.
I will say this much. I do agree with you. I wouldn't be that disrespectful, but I will say this. I think Sheamus is going to add a lot to this match, and same as Drew McIntyre. I don't know what Omos is going to bring to this other than he's going to be a guy. Do you see Omos taking any huge bumps in this match? Because he's not really a guy who takes a lot of big bumps. I don't know what he's going to be able to do that's going to add to this match. He's definitely not winning it, but I feel like this field, these four dudes, something is missing from this. This match to me screams a guy like Finn Balor. Like this match desperately needs Finn Balor in it and a few other guys. Like I don't know how this combination. I know that McIntyre and Sheamus can beat the hell out of each other, and they probably will in this match. And Seth Rollins is always going to be a great performer. I don't know what Omos adds to this. And I definitely feel like they need some different types of guys. They got a lot of beef in this ladder match again. A lot of beef in this ladder match. So I don't know how these components are going to come together to put on a good ladder match. I just don't know.
I think Kevin Owens needs to be in this match to take a big bump like he always does.
Yes, that's for sure. If they made Elias, they keep teasing that Ezekiel is going to get into this match, but I think I'd rather have KO get in this for sure. Number 5 here on the 5 count. We will move on to the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. We will play pretender or contender here. Let's start with the woman who entered the match last night in Asuka. Is she a contender or is she a pretender, SP3?
Sadly, she's a pretender because I love Asuka. I think she's one of the best performers, pound for pound, man or female, in WWE. But she's already won the Money in the Bank. You could say, oh, she won Money in the Bank, but she never cashed it in. But WWE doesn't repeat the Money in the Bank often unless you totally hate the finish, like you did with the first women's Money in the Bank. But they don't tend to repeat the same winner this close together. So that's the only reason why Asuka is a pretender.
Yeah, I think it was pretty telling. I'm going to go with pretender as well. I think it was pretty telling when she was the one that got beat in the triple threat match against Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch, and the fact that she got beat by a manhandle slam and was basically on the ground for roughly 6 to 10 seconds to eat that loss. I thought that was pretty telling. I was a little bit surprised that she got the win clean last night. She's definitely deserving of being in this match and is going to add a lot to it, but her prospects of actually winning it, I'd put it just above Otis winning when he won the Money in the Bank briefcase. I never would have picked that in a million years, which tells you they could do something crazy, like put the briefcase in the hands of Omos. They could do something crazy like that. So, but let's not, let's not wish that on anybody. How about Alexa Bliss? Been on a roll as of late. She's lost matches, but she hasn't lost matches. They're clearly building up something for her. Is she a contender or is she a pretender come Money in the Bank, SP3?
Alexa Bliss, I'm gonna say pretender as well. Another former Money in the Bank winner. That's the only reason I'm going pretender, because I see more things with her and Liv Morgan, and I think they kind of cancel each other out.
I am going to go with contender. Wrong one here. Sorry. I'm going to go with contender with Alexa Bliss. I think they're building her up for something. This could be a nice way to transition her back into the main event scene, which she has been out of for quite some time. She has not really been in title contention since she lost the belt to Ronda Rousey in a squash fashion. I think that's some history that you could play on and maybe shift Alexa Bliss over to the blue brand where she is badly needed right now from a depth standpoint. So I would say they're building her up for something. That means she's a contender. Do I think she's necessarily going to win it? I wouldn't make her my favorite, but I'm not ruling it out either. How about her possible tag team partner in Liv Morgan? Is she a contender or is she a pretender, SP3?
Like I said, I think they're going to cancel each other out, because if they are going to bring back the women's tag team titles, Alexa Bliss and Liv Morgan seem like the best option. But there's a big if, like you said, with the women's tag team titles. So if I had to give one of these two women contender, I'll go with Liv Morgan. I think she's the dark horse to win this.
Frantic World asking, will Otis be in the men's Money in the Bank ladder match? I highly, highly doubt it. Of the ones that have qualified, Joshua says Alexa is the favorite for him. I would not call her a favorite, but heck, you can have your options there. Ace Shock, or your opinions, excuse me. Ace Shock saying Liv Morgan is a contender. She should cash in on Ronda at Clash. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but that's mostly because I see Liv Morgan as a pretender in this. I think hindsight.
I say contender.
Oh, did you say contender? Oh, you said cancel.
Contender.
You said cancel. Okay, I got you. Sorry. Hang on. Yeah. I'll adjust.
They cancel each other out, but if I gotta give one of them the contender role, I'm going with Liv Morgan, because they would do something like that, like they did last year with Nikki ASH.
I think hindsight being what it is, and I was perfectly fine with either Liv or Nikki winning the briefcase last year. It just all depends on how they followed up with it. And seeing how they followed up with it with Nikki, I think they made the wrong call. They should have had Liv Morgan win last year. But Liv Morgan has now reached this category of, until they actually pull the trigger and have her get a big win, I'm never going to pick her to win a big match, because she just doesn't. They don't book her that way, even though she's one of the hardest working damn people in the business, and she continues to get better and better and better every single week. She is an incredibly talented performer. Character's still missing something. I don't know how to define what Liv Morgan, or who Liv Morgan is. She doesn't have a resume building win. She's a pretender until I see otherwise, until I see WWE put some stock into her and actually show that they actually have some plans for her to do some big things. I can't pick her to do that. How about Raquel Rodriguez, contender or pretender, SP3, as we get a rush in from baby SP3?
No, that's Harlem Rain. A lot of people know Harlem Rain. She's the best guest host on True Hill Heat, as she says milk in the background. Raquel Rodriguez, I would say, is a contender. She is probably the best option from SmackDown, I think the best option as far as baby faces in this match. She has the size, she has a built-in feud off of that first match with Ronda Rousey, so I'll go contender.
I'm leaning pretender on this one. Again, I just think it's too early in her main roster call up. They don't tend to really hot shot a lot of people once they get straight up. They don't tend to do that. I know they did her a lot of favors by giving her that match with Ronda Rousey and basically letting her whoop Ronda Rousey's ass. And yeah, you have something that you can build off of. Do I think they actually are going to do it? No, I think Raquel is going to sit in kind of creative purgatory for a while and beat up on some of the lesser known people. And maybe I'm wrong. I don't see her walking with the briefcase. I think it's too early in her tenure on the main roster. Last, but maybe least, I don't know. What do you say, SP3? Lacey Evans, contender or pretender for Money in the Bank?
I'm going to surprise a lot of people. She's the odds-on favorite to win. You got to consider what her plans were before she left, and it was for her to win the Raw Women's Championship in part of that Ric Flair, Charlotte Flair storyline. They gave her the massive push with all those vignettes to build up to her, and Money in the Bank is on July 2nd, 2 days before July 4th. So what would WWE do? Put the Money in the Bank on the former Marine.
I'm going to shock you. Of the people who are currently in the match, I agree with you for every reason you just spelled out. People might sit here and think, oh, they have no idea what they want to do with Lacey. Is she a babyface? Is she a heel? Is she on Raw? Is she on SmackDown? All of that's true. But you have to think about what her plans were before she had her child and had to go away. She was scheduled to win the Raw Women's Championship and feud with Charlotte Flair. They obviously see something in Lacey. They made a huge deal about her return to the company. They gave her literally weeks of vignettes. She wins her first match back against Xia Li. Hell yeah, she's the odds-on favorite to win this of the women that are in the match. Now, if Charlotte gets added, if Becky gets added, I think those odds change drastically. But as of right now, for these five, no doubt about it. Lacey is the favorite, and Queen agrees. Until Becky gets added, Lacey is my favorite. Also, July 4th weekend, as SP3 brought up. So we agree on some, we disagree on some. You sure you don't want to reconsider Omos? I could type this out. I could make sure.
Big all capital letters, pretender.
We felt the same way about Otis. Again, we remember this. I remember we had a conversation about this before that Money in the Bank. I think it was with you, and we said there's no way that we glossed over Otis. Don't put it past WWE to do something insane come Money in the Bank weekend. We appreciate everybody who has tuned in to our live event here today. Every Tuesday, we are on 2:15 Eastern Standard Time live. We appreciate you guys. Make sure to pound that subscribe button. Make sure to pound the thumbs up button. That really helps drive up our audience. So we appreciate you guys for doing that. Myself and Jeremy Bennett, we will be back at our regularly scheduled time, assuming I still have power this week, for our NXT recap show tomorrow, 7 a.m. SP3 and myself will be back on Thursday at 7 a.m. recapping AEW Dynamite. Bryan Danielson scheduled to make his appearance to talk about Forbidden Door and his status for that pay-per-view. A lot of eyes are going to be on him for that one. And then Friday, 7 a.m., it is the Forbidden Door prediction show with Nick Hausman from Wrestling Inc. So make sure to tune in for that. We got you covered this week as far as all your professional wrestling needs. We got you handled here on the Bleav in Pro Wrestling podcast. We do appreciate everybody for tuning in today. We'll talk to you guys again down the road. We have been brought to you by Bet Online. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.